Hello everyone, this is Serious Trivia, and today we're continuing the founding of Jin Let's Talk Lore series with episode 5, titled The Shibao Incident. Before we get started, here's the answer to our trivia question from the end of our last episode, and be sure to stay tuned until the end of this episode for a brand new trivia question. Now last time, we ended as we introduced Ding Feng's plot to frame the Jin general Shibao for collaborating with Wu, and for the most part, the plot worked, as Sima Yan eventually convinced himself of that possibility. In response, Grand Commandant Sima Wang and Grand General who stabilizes the east, Sima Zhou, were sent to march and launch a preemptive strike against Shibao. Now, fortunately for the Jin side, the situation would ultimately diffuse itself before any needless bloodshed would occur, as General Shibao would come to realize his predicament when one of his newly promoted civil officials would arrive in Shouchun ahead of the preemptive strike to inform him of the situation. As you see, at the time, a minor civil official named Sun Shuo had just gotten promoted from his post as a administrator's assistant in the Henei Commandery to work as a new civil official under General Shibao. On his way south to report to his new job in Shouchun, he passed by the city of Xuchang, where the local garrison commander, Sima Jun, asked to meet him. Now, Sima Jun was the prince of Ruyin and the seventh son of Sima Yi, but more importantly, just like the rest of the Sima clan, he hailed from the Henei Commandery. And because of this, Sima Jun knew Sun Shuo, who was also from the same commandery. Hoping to help Sun Shuo out, Sima Jun privately warned Sun Shuo to avoid reporting to his new job, as Sima Jun had already heard of reports from the capital that armies were being sent in secret to Shouchun to suppress Shibao's rebellion. Sun Shuo thanked Sima Jun for letting him in on the matter, but Sun Shuo did not listen to Sima Jun's advice, as he could not believe that Shibao would rebel. So Sun Shuo rushed to Shouchun ahead of the Jin mobilization, and after seeing for himself that Shibao had no intentions to rebel and also had no idea of the imminent Jin attack on him, Sun Shuo told Shibao everything. Now, knowing that it's difficult to prove his innocence with words alone, Shibao smartly decided to leave the city of Shouchun by himself without any troops, as he would travel north to await the approaching Jin army. Once the Jin army met up with him, Shibao surrendered himself and his military command, as he will be brought back to Luoyang. Now, because Shibao surrendered without any resistance or complaint, Sima Yan knew he had made a mistake. But the damage to their mutual trust was already done, as now there's just no way Sima Yan could walk back on his decisions and allow Shibao to go back to a military post anywhere. So instead, Shibao is allowed to keep his Duke of Leding commandery title, but he had to remain in the capital. Once the Wu attack abated, Shibao was eventually given a Grand Excellency of the Masses position as an apology, and he would go on to serve in this role until his death of old age in 273. Now, while Ding Feng's plot to remove Shibao worked, the infighting between the Jin forces never materialized due to Shibao's decision to give himself up, and this would end up proving disastrous for the Wu attack, as instead of just dealing with the Huainan garrison forces, the Jin Central Army and Eastern Army, under the commands of Sima Wang and Sima Zhou, were also now in position to deal with the Wu attack. Knowing that he would have no chance in a direct attack against Hefei, Ding Feng opted for attack on the waterwork west of Hefei, around Quebei. Here, the Wu army would meet the forces of Sima Jun, as his unit from Xuchang eventually was ordered to join in the previously planned preemptive strike as well. The battle here became quite lopsided almost immediately, as the Wu forces simply could not match their Jin counterparts. And even before Sima Wang and the Jin Central Army could arrive from Hefei to reinforce Sima Jun, Ding Feng and the Wu side were beaten back and forced to retreat, as the attack on the Yang province would end in failure. Now, the other two fronts of the Kingdom of Wu would not fare any better either. In the Jin province, 30,000 troops under General Shi Ji put the garrison at Yuxiang in the Jiangxia Commandery under siege, while 15,000 troops under Prime Minister Wan Yu put the city of Zhicheng in Xiangyang under siege. To be honest, both of these targets were not that important for the Jin side, as the size of these Wu forces were also laughably small to threaten any real targets. So soon after these sieges were accounted for, General Hu Lie, who was now also the Jin prefect of the Jin province, and the general of the rear, Tian Zhang, led counterattacks to easily break these sieges and push back the Wu forces. And when Sima Wang and 20,000 reinforcement troops from the Jin Central Army arrived in the Jin province after taking care of matters in the Yang province, the Wu side quickly caught off their attack in the Jin province as well. And this left only the southern front in the Jiao province. Now, looking back to the reason why Wu lost control of this province in the first place, it stemmed mainly from the financial strains of the constant tribute and forced labor conscriptions that were placed on this province. And this led to widespread rebellions even before the fall of the kingdom of Shuhan. After struggling to end these rebellions, Wu essentially lost control of the province when select commanderies, such as the key commandery of Jiaozhi, opted to surrender to the newly created Jin dynasty in 265 in order to receive troops and protection from the constant Wu attempts to reclaim the area. In 266, as part of the Jin reinforcement to the surrendered rebels, official Yang Ji was sent by the Jin court as the new administrator of Jiaozhi. Furthermore, former Shuhan officers and troops from the Shuhan southern commanderies were also ordered by the Jin court to reinforce the Jiao province, as they were the closest available unit and were also familiar with fighting in the local climate and terrain. So when the Wu forces under the commands of the former Wu prefect of the Jiao province, Liu Jun, and General Gu Rong and Xiu Ze came to attack the Jiaozhi commandery, the Jin side was quite prepared, as Yang Ji would end up repelling 3 waves attack on Jiaozhi. As the defeated Wu forces settled back to Hepu commandery to regroup, Yang Ji used this opening to launch counterattacks of his own, targeting the 2 nearby commanderies of Yuling to the north and Jiuzhen to the south, in order to chase out any remaining Wu or rebel armies to solidify the Jin control of these areas. After successfully securing these 2 commanderies for the Jin side, Yang Ji turned his attention to Hepu commandery, hoping to chase out the Wu forces for good. While he was unable to displace the Wu foothold in the province, Yang Ji was able to kill both the Wu prefect Liu Jun and General Xiu Ze in battle outside of Hepu, as this victory would spell an end to all 3 fronts of the Wu offensive in 268. Now, even though all 3 fronts ended in failure for the Wu side, Emperor Sun Hao and the kingdom would not give up, as they would continue to launch small offensive campaigns against Jin in both 269 and 270. Over time, these attacks did yield some returns, as the Jiao province, given its distance from the rest of the Jin territory, eventually would fall back to Wu control. The situation in the more crucial Jin province would also reach an equilibrium, as Wu general Lu Kang, the son of Lu Xun, would take command of the Wu western forces following the death of General Shi Ji to old age in 270, while the Jin side would promote General Yang Hu to counter. And as we end our episode here, we're also going to be ending our discussion on the conflicts between the kingdom of Jin and Wu, as I want to save these discussions for the Surrender of Wu series in the future. As far as the founding of Jin is concerned, in these early years of Jin's existence, the kingdom of Wu under Emperor Sun Hao, for the most part, remained quite aggressive, with smaller sized raids that would constantly harass the Jin southern front. The reason why Wu was allowed to get away with this constant harassment is because a bigger war in the north against the Normads was occupying Jin's attention. And to find out how this northern conflict started for the Jin side, come back next time, as we'll continue our series tomorrow with episode 6 titled The Qinliang Rebellion. Hopefully you all have enjoyed this episode enough to consider subscribing to the channel for more content on Three Kingdoms history, or simply support the channel by leaving a comment below, or just by hitting the like button. And as always, I'll see you all next time. Bye!